Let's start.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. No matter what time zone you're tuning in from right now, welcome back to Sip and Talk. I'm Sunny.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Joe.
So right before we jumped on the mics today, I was actually looking at our back-end analytics, and I swear I almost spit my black coffee all over your incredibly expensive suit.
Which, by the way, it is a very good thing you didn't. I mean, the dry cleaning bill on this thing alone is just a nightmare. But yeah, you're right. The data we were just looking at is absolutely fascinating.
It really is, because, usually we see our strongest engagement from our core listeners right here in the U.S., up in Canada, Taiwan, Japan, and obviously across Europe.
Yeah, especially our friends in the U.K. and Spain.
Right, exactly. And we've got Latin America and China tuning in too. But over the last few weeks, there has been this sudden, just massive rocket ship spike in listeners tuning in from Vietnam.
It's wild. So before we do literally anything else, we have to officially welcome our new Sip and Talkers.
Xin chào.
Xin chào. Welcome to the show. We are so thrilled to have you here in our little corner of the audio world.
Honestly, I was wondering if some massive Saigon tech mogul suddenly shared our show on their socials or something. But whatever the reason, it actually inspired us. We decided to dedicate today's entire discussion to Vietnam.
Yeah, it felt like the perfect time.
Right. And to kick this off, I want to bring up this viral story about a Vietnamese girl who worked in Taiwan for 10 years, because it perfectly captures exactly what we are going to unpack today.
Oh, man, I love this story. So, Sip and Talkers, picture this, right? This girl returns to Vietnam and ends up crossing paths with a very, let's say, patriotic Chinese tourist.
Very patriotic, yeah.
They're chatting,
right.
And somehow the topic of Taiwan comes up. And the tourist firmly declares, quote, Taiwan is also part of China.
Now, what's amazing is she doesn't get angry. She doesn't, launch into this massive historical debate. She just looks at him, completely calm, and asks one simple question. She says, is that now or in the future?
I mean, just wow. It is a genius timeline logic trap. The tourist was just left completely speechless.
Frozen.
Completely frozen. Because think about it. If you answer now, well, that just contradicts the actual physical reality on the ground.
Exactly.
But if you answer in the future, you are officially admitting that it isn't true right now. It leaves absolutely zero room for a shouting match.
And that right there isn't just quick wit. That is a street-level reflection of what is officially known as Vietnam's bamboo diplomacy. It is this supreme, almost ruthless pragmatism.
Yes.
And that is our mission for today. We're exploring Vietnam's historical immunity to great powers, their just booming role in the global tech supply chain, and the hilarious, deeply relatable cultural parallels they share with Taiwan.
Because that girl's total immunity to grand, sweeping superpower narratives, it doesn't just happen by accident. It is a direct reflection of their national history.
Right.
I mean, we are talking about a nation that has spent literally thousands of years navigating massive empires, which includes enduring 4 separate periods of direct Chinese rule. They are intensely battle-tested. I mean, just looking at modern history, they fought and repelled 3 permanent members of the UN Security Council.
It's actually kind of staggering when you lay it out like that.
It is. They fought the French colonial forces. They fought us, the Americans, during the Vietnam War, and they fought the Chinese in the 1979 border conflict.
And all of that bloodshed and survival really forged this concept of bamboo diplomacy, which, by the way, their government officially designated as state policy back in 2021.
Yeah, and I like to think of it kind of like a heavy-duty shock absorber in a car. The deep roots represent national sovereignty, right? That's the solid chassis.
Oh, I like that analogy.
But the top of the bamboo.
It's the suspension system. It absorbs the kinetic energy of the U.S., China, Russia, and Taiwan, all just slamming into it, and it distributes the force so the country itself doesn't break.
That is a much better way to look at it than just calling it flexible, because the suspension system allows them to interact with everyone without being crushed by anyone's specific global agenda. But let me challenge this for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because from the outside, especially from our American perspective, it can look a lot like, well, just having no core principles.
Interesting. How so?
Well, it's like that one friend who refuses to hard commit to weekend plans until they see where the absolute best party is. You refuse to hard commit to any alliance. You just bend toward whoever has the best economic offer that decade. Doesn't extreme flexibility eventually just turn into, I don't know, opportunism?
See, it is really easy to view it that way from the safety of North America. But for smaller nations that share a land border with a historical superpower, grand ideological commitments are a luxury they literally cannot afford.
That's a fair point.
History has taught Vietnam that superpower promises, they change with every single election cycle. But Geography is forever. You cannot physically move your country.
Right, you're stuck where you are.
Exactly. So when that girl responded to the tourist, she didn't take a stand that would trap her in a corner. She left room for time to do the work. It is textbook strategic ambiguity.
You survive by reading the wind, not fighting it.
Perfectly said.
And that historical survival instinct, it translates perfectly into modern economics. I mean, while superpowers are busy arguing over ideology, Vietnam is quietly building factories and making serious money.
Oh, yeah, through the ultimate economic pragmatism, the China plus one strategy.
Right. And for anyone not deep in the manufacturing weeds, China plus one is exactly what it sounds like.
It's literally the name of the game right now. Global companies are keeping their massive operations in China, obviously, but they're building a plus one backup facility in a neighboring country to diversify their geopolitical risk.
And as we see this really fierce tech decoupling happening between our policymakers in Washington and Beijing, U.S. giants are just pouring capital into Vietnam.
It's a gold rush.
It really is. Apple is moving iPad and MacBook production lines there. Intel has a massive footprint. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang has publicly committed to building a major AI base right in Hanoi.
And when you look at the mechanics of why they're choosing Vietnam over, say, other emerging markets, it comes down to demographics.
Yep, the people.
They have this massive, highly youthful population that is aggressively pursuing IT and engineering. The government is pushing STEM education incredibly hard to meet foreign demand.
It is exactly the kind of hardcore knowledge-seeking demographic that tunes into our show, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But here is where the China plus one strategy gets a little murky and, frankly, a bit ironic.
Oh, the loophole.
Yes, the loophole. Because it's not just our U.S. companies setting up shop. Chinese companies are using Vietnam as this giant backdoor delivery service to dodge our tariffs.
This is such a crucial piece of the global supply chain puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a practice that is heavily scrutinized in international trade.
Think of it like, well, it's almost like money laundering, but for electronics.
Yes. Origin washing.
Right, origin washing. So a Chinese manufacturer builds, let's say, 90% of a router in Shenzhen. They load those nearly finished parts onto a truck, drive it across the border into northern Vietnam, and a worker in a factory there literally just screws in one final piece of plastic.
Just one screw, and suddenly,
because that final assembly happened in Hanoi, they legally slap a Made in Vietnam label on the box. Then they ship it straight to Los Angeles, completely bypassing the heavy U.S. tariffs that were literally designed to squeeze Chinese manufacturing.
the structural irony there is just staggering. Because when you look at our tech war policies out of Washington, they were meant to isolate Chinese supply chains. But inadvertently, they turned Vietnam into a dual beneficiary.
They really did.
Vietnam gets massive investment from American firms looking for an alternative to China, while simultaneously getting massive investment from Chinese firms who just want to keep selling to the American market. They are cashing checks from both sides of the conflict.
It is the bamboo swing perfectly in the economic winds.
It is.
But, you know, a tightrope act sort of implies a safety net, and in global geopolitics, there really isn't one. Vietnam has what we might call geopolitical original sin, where that flexible diplomacy completely falls apart.
You're talking about the South China Sea.
Yes, the glaring exception to the rule. You cannot use strategic ambiguity when massive Chinese Coast Guard vessels are physically entering your exclusive economic zones.
No, you really can't spin that.
Or when Beijing is building militarized artificial islands right off your coastline. In those territorial disputes, the bamboo cannot bend. Vietnam is forced to basically abandon the middle ground and lean heavily toward military and intelligence cooperation with the U.S. just to counterbalance that physical presence in their waters.
And the risks aren't just military, right? They are deeply economic. Washington is absolutely catching on to the origin washing strategy.
Oh, for sure.
That physical loophole of just driving parts across the border to dodge tariffs is under intense scrutiny right now.
Because if the U.S. Commerce Department eventually puts its foot down and demands a completely clean, fully verified, de-Sinicized supply chain to maintain those favorable trade benefits, that flexible bamboo is going to be crushed under the weight of compliance.
Vietnam would have to make a hard binary choice between its two biggest economic partners. I mean, Sip&Talkers, just imagine being a CEO navigating this reality right now. How do you plan for a decade of corporate growth when your entire business model relies on a geopolitical loophole that can close overnight with a single policy memo?
It's a terrifyingly fragile foundation for a corporate board, but, that fragility at the macro level is precisely why the civilian mindset in these regions is so utterly fascinating.
It really is a totally different world on the ground.
Let's zoom back in on that Vietnamese girl who spent a decade working in Taiwan. Why do the people of Taiwan and Vietnam seem to understand each other so perfectly on a cultural level, despite all this corporate and political panic happening above them?
Well, I think it starts with labor and lifestyle. There are over 250,000 Vietnamese migrant workers currently in Taiwan.
That is a massive number.
It is. They form this invisible yet absolutely critical backbone for Taiwan's manufacturing sectors and, crucially, their elder care system.
And it creates this really profound two-way street of cultural exchange. I mean, Taiwanese boba tea and that intense 24/7 convenience store culture have completely flooded into Vietnam.
Oh man, the convenience stores?
Right. Meanwhile, Vietnamese pho and banh mi have become absolute staples on the streets of Taipei. You see a really seamless blending of everyday life.
But the connection goes way deeper than just, swapping recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these societies sit in the literal shadow of a massive, heavily armed neighbor.
Very true.
Culturally, both populations fiercely reject being defined by a superpower's grand narrative. You talk to folks in both places, and the vibe is just this incredibly stubborn resilience. The attitude is basically, look, we just want to make our semiconductor chips, drink our coffee, and be left alone.
I love that. That civilian sentiment is so powerful. However, we do have to balance this with the hard structural realities.
Right, it's not all sunshine.
Exactly. While the cultural ties are warm, integration isn't flawless. Migrant workers in Taiwan still face significant structural discrimination and severe labor challenges. The day-to-day reality for a lot of those workers is incredibly tough.
Which is a vital point to make. The humanity on the ground is always complex.
Furthermore, despite this deep civilian bond, on an official state level, Vietnam strictly adheres to the One China policy. National interest and state security will always trump civilian sentiment. A government won't risk its own geopolitical stability for the sake of cultural solidarity with a neighbor.
It is wild to marvel at that duality. I mean, you have this deep, almost sibling-like civilian bond with another society. You're sharing food, pop culture, and this mutual understanding of survival. But simultaneously, your governments are playing a rigid, high-stakes geopolitical game where those warm feelings do not matter at all.
That separation of state policy and a civilian life is where the most interesting cultural phenomena emerge, though. Because despite those rigid political rules, if you walk the streets of Taipei or Ho Chi Minh City, you would honestly think the two cultures were identical twins separated at birth.
Oh, absolutely.
The everyday memes are uncanny.
The memes are legendary. Sip&Talkers. If you have never been to either of these places, let me paint a picture of the motorcycle armies.
Oh my gosh, the scooters.
It is a spectacle. Whether you are looking at the massive scooter waterfalls pouring off the Taipei Bridge during rush hour, or the endless weaving flow of traffic in Hanoi, it is identical.
It looks like absolute chaos to an outsider, just total anarchy.
Total anarchy.
But if you watch closely, it's like a fluid dynamics problem. Drivers in both countries have developed this microsecond telepathic ability to dodge each other without even breaking speed. There is an invisible flowing order to the madness.
And the sun protection. We got to talk about the sun protection. In Taiwan, you have the grandmas who layer up in heavy jackets, visors, and gloves in the dead of summer just to avoid the sun. But in Vietnam, they take it to a whole new level with the ninja lead outfits.
The ninja lead. For anyone who doesn't know, it is a full-body, head-to-toe, floral sunsuit.
I swear, if you wore a ninja-led suit into an American bank, you would trigger a security lockdown immediately. The SWAT team would be called.
Without a doubt. But in Asia, it is just basic respect for the UV index.
Then there is what we can call the stool philosophy. This is my absolute favorite cultural parallel.
The stool philosophy.
Both societies completely reject high-class pretense when it comes to good food.
Ah, you're talking about the 15-centimeter plastic stool.
Well, wait, let me rephrase that. The plastic stool is an institution. You will find people in both countries eating Michelin-worthy street food or drinking cafe but street coffee while hunched over these tiny, colorful plastic stools right on the sidewalk.
It's so true.
There is an unspoken rule in both Taiwan and Vietnam. The lower the stool, the better the food. It's all about accessibility and community over luxury.
I completely agree. And finally, we have to talk about the Asian grandma cure-alls. Every culture has its home remedies, obviously, but the specific similarities here really unite them.
Oh boy, here we go.
In Taiwan, it is white flower oil for literally any ailment. In Vietnam, it is white tiger balm. Headache, tiger balm. Stomachache, tiger balm. Bad breakup, probably tiger balm.
But the most shared experience, the one that really unites the two cultures, is the horror and pride of traditional scraping therapy. Gua sha in Taiwan, or Cao in Vietnam. I will never forget the absolute shock of seeing gua sha for the first time.
For anyone unfamiliar, the mechanics of it can look, well, a bit intense.
Intense is the understatement of the century. A practitioner takes a coin or a smooth tool and literally scrapes the skin on your back, neck, or chest over and over until the surface is bright red and heavily bruised.
Yeah, the redness is the point, actually.
Right, the idea is to release bad energy or heat trapped in the body. But to a terrified Westerner like me, it looks like a medieval torture device.
I mean, I get it.
But to them, it's just a Tuesday afternoon at Grandma's house.
Exactly. It is entirely normalized in both societies as a valid, everyday cure.
But joking aside, think about what growing up in that shared environment of chaos and cure does to a person. You navigate insane traffic, you deal with sweltering heat, you survive the economic hustle, and you cure your ailments with a coin.
It builds character.
It breeds a very specific type of person. It breeds the exact kind of resilient, highly flexible minds that are currently dominating the global tech sectors. You learn to adapt to whatever is thrown at you because rigidity gets you literally nowhere.
That is a perfect synthesis. This civilian wisdom, staying calm, remaining highly flexible, and keeping grounded in everyday reality is the real secret behind Vietnam's explosive rise. It is the bamboo top swaying to handle the geopolitical pressure, while the roots stay firmly planted by a plastic stool on the sidewalk.
That is the perfect image to wrap this up. And before we close out, we want to state clearly that our exploration of geopolitics, economics, and society today was strictly to analyze these fascinating supply chain facts and cultural parallels.
Right.
We aren't here to criticize or discriminate against any nation, group, or people. Sip and Talk is always about promoting independent, critical thinking.
And as a quick reminder, any of the financial or tech industry trends we discuss regarding international supply chains are purely for educational discussion. This is not investment advice.
Now, to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on, we talked extensively about Vietnam's massive demographic advantage and their incredible China Plus One manufacturing boom.
Yep.
But look, 10 years down the road, as artificial intelligence and advanced robotics begin to rapidly replace the need for massive human labor forces in manufacturing, how will that specific advantage hold up? Will the bamboo need to find entirely new soil to root itself in the AI age?
If physical assembly is fully automated by robotics, those geopolitical loopholes completely change shape. It is a fascinating challenge for the next decade.
Something to mull over on your commute. To all our new Vietnamese listeners and all the loyal Sip and Talkers around the world, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to our feed so you never miss an episode.
And also, be sure to check out the newest travel vlog from friend of the show, Mickey. You can find it on his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life. It is an incredibly fun watch. Highly recommend it.
We will see you all next time. Stay curious.